Russia shattered dreams. End of times ain't what it seems.
Hello, friends. This is Sam Cheney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's June 5th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. We have quite a bit to get to today, as per usual. It's looking like, it's going to be a bloodbath for the Republicans in the midterms. They deserve it because their policies are shit. And the Democrats' policies are not going to be any better. They're going to be even worse. And so that's where we're at here in our democracy of America. We're on day 98 of the Iran war. The White House and Trump don't seem to really want to talk about it much. Trump says it's not a war, it's a skirmish or something like this. It's a military conflict, not a war. And he also talks about making up the word affordability, or his team came and made that word up. So the others just make what they say has no meaning. They've destroyed the meaning of words at this point. They just make up whatever bullshit they want to feed the public. And apparently a lot of people out there love eating bullshit. Welcome to those coming online right now. So yeah, we got the back and forth. We're in a Persian standoff with Iran. We got the back and forth here now, as the White House doesn't really want to talk about it very much anymore. Strait of Hormuz essentially closed. There's some reports. Iran launched some drones. Iran launched several drones towards Strait of Hormuz in the last couple hours. The U.S. shot them down. It's called a war. We've got black helicopters over Los Angeles here now. U.S. Special Forces are running around Los Angeles doing urban training drills. Take a look at that. More fallout from Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, Epstein Island 2.0. Take a look at that. The protests ongoing against them. They're in Albania. We got a little bit of public health news. They're trying to roll out an AI miracle for everything. Sure. I don't know how you could even, if you're still buying this, I don't know how you're still with us, let's just say. But they continue to push forward on that front. What else? We got a whole lot of economic news. Everything down today. Everything big down. I know, don't be a panicking. Just trust Trump's lies and propaganda, but everything's way down today. Bunch of more Epstein news today. What else do we got? Geopolitical news. Not looking good on Russia, Ukraine. What the House yesterday passed another big funding bill to throw in the black hole known as Ukraine. Somehow we're still in a proxy war with Russia, guys. We're still in a war with freaking Iran, guys. But hey, the NBA finals are in New York, where nobody can even afford a ticket except for these con artist criminals. We'll get to all that reporting. They're leveling. The leveling of Lebanon continues, and the genocide in Gaza continues. And we'll cover all of that. And take a look. We'll take a look at this. Big Brother in the UK says that they say Aardvark land must honor Jordan's custodianship of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. We'll take a look at that as they're pushing for the third temple, their fake end of the world, end times prophecy, all this. What else? Yeah, these AI, maximizing AI drone kills. Take another look at that, because it's all coming here to us. Palestine is a laboratory for killing people, and it's all going to come back here. It's called blowback. It's called chickens come home to roost. It's called karma. It's called, It's called It's All Coming Back to the West, because that's why they're doing all this in the first place, actually. All right, let's get to all that and much more on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. Thank you for joining us. A few people there in the chats. Mac, shout out to Mac, shout out to Snow. They're preparing for martial law. Snow says, well, don't be a conspiracy theorist, Snow. There's no such thing as black helicopters. Remember, they told, I'm old enough to remember, if you claim there's black helicopters doing military exercises in your area, you're an insane person. Now it's reported in the Los Angeles Times as they're keeping us safe. It's for our own good. How far we've come. How far we've come now. On this day in history of June 5th, we go back to way far back to the year 70. The year 70. Titus and his Roman legions breach the middle wall of Jerusalem on this day in the year 70. Then we fast way forward to the year 1794. U.S. Congress passes the Neutrality Act, banning Americans from serving in foreign armed services. But they don't enforce that now, because we got Brian Mass. He's an IDF soldier, and many others. But I mean, he's like the most glaring example of literally serving in a foreign military and sitting in the U.S. Congress. So, yeah, I think we're violating that a whole hell of a lot. On this day in 1851, anti-slavery novel Uncle Tom's Cabin was first published by Harriet Stowe. It was first published in serial form in the National Era. On this day in 1861, federal marshal seized arms and gunpowder at the DuPont Works in Delaware. 1882, on this day, storm and floods hit Bombay, killing an estimated 100,000 people. A bunch of dead Indians on this day. Quite tragic. It's a hell of a high death count, 100,000 there from storms and flooding on this day, 1882. And this is my kind of guy right here. I guess we'll dismiss his previous service. On this day, 1884, William Sherman refuses the Republican presidential nomination, saying, I will not accept the nomination and will not serve if elected. That's what I'm talking about. Shun this corrupt system. 1912, on this day, U.S. Marines invade Cuba. 1917, on this day, 10 million U.S. men begin registering for the draft in World War I. And why did that even start? The hidden hand assassinated the Archduke Ferdinand. That's like what we're told on the History Channel, right? And German U-boats are attacking U.S. vessels. It's like World War I. What a mess. And that was supposed to be the war to end all wars. We're still in war today. Never-ending war here now. 1922, on this day. And then this goaded Germany into World War II. Greased the skids for it. On this day, 1922, the Bankers Committee of the Reparations Commission refused an international loan to Germany because they knew they're prepping for World War II here now. After World War I. Tomorrow's D-Day too, by the way. I think we'll get to that. 1937 on this day. 1937. 1937. Henry Ford initiates a 32-hour work week on this day, 1937. Way ahead of his time. And on this day in 1944, after receiving favorable weather reports, General Eisenhower decides to proceed with the D-Day invasion tomorrow, June 6th. very occultic and satanic, actually. And when we look a little bit deeper, that the occult ties into everything they do here now, because they're dark occultist Satanists, those at the top pulling the strings. On this day in 1947, U.S. Secretary of State George C. Marshall outlines the Marshall Plan to rebuild Western Europe. And then now today, thankfully we have real estate mogul Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff. They're designing plans with BlackRock to go ahead and rebuild Ukraine, rebuild Gaza, probably Lebanon too. Hell, that's kind of our thing. Blow everything up and then pay off corrupt developers and banks to profit off of rebuilding it and blow it up again. And we call that progress here in America. On this day in 1963, a state of siege is declared in Iran, and the Ayatollah Khomeini is arrested. 1963. On this day in 1967, we saw the 6-day war begin between Aardvarkland and the neighboring Arab states of Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. Take a look at the USS Liberty there. Everybody always wants to blame Aardvarkland, and they're the ones that did the attack. But hey, the Pentagon signed off on the whole thing, so maybe we should look in the mirror at ourselves, as well as our bulldog enforcers out there, the Aardvarkland USS Liberty. Everybody should take a look at that. On this day in 1968, and of course they're blaming a Palestinian. On this day in 1968, Palestinian Sirhan assassinates Robert F. Kennedy, shooting him 3 times and wounding 5 others at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, California. Kennedy died the next day. Sirhan's an MK Ultra patsy by all accounts. Even his son, Bobby Kennedy Jr., doesn't believe that Sirhan acted alone. But there are reports he screamed "Free Palestine" when he did the shooting. No, I just made that up. But they didn't have that propaganda back then. But I'm sure nowadays they would. Okay, continuing here, 1981. On this day, the first AIDS epidemic officially begins when the U.S. CDC reports cases of pneumonia in 5 gay men in Los Angeles. 2000, and with that story, take a look at the PCR test. Just saying. And on this day in 2012, Turning Point USA was founded by Charlie Kirk. And and Bill Montgomery to advocate for conservatism on high school, college, and university campuses. And on this day in our civil liberties history, we have a few events. On this day in 1920, we saw the Women's Bureau is created. The Women's Bureau was established as a unit within the U.S. Department of Labor on this day by President Woodrow Wilson. The original mandate of the Women's Bureau was to, quote, formulate standards and policies which shall promote the welfare of wage-earning women, improve their working conditions, increase their efficiency, and advance their opportunities for profitable employment. All part of Federal Reserve, private central banking system. On this day in 1970, President Nixon demands action on anti-war protests. Abuses follow. On this day, then President Richard Nixon convened a meeting with the heads of all intelligence agencies and demanded new measures against anti-Vietnam War protesters and what he saw as threats to an orderly society. The meeting was prompted by massive anti-war demonstrations that swept the country on May 1st, 1960, following the invasion of Cambodia by U.S. troops, which represented a significant expansion of the Vietnam War. The demonstrators included the fatal shooting of 4 people by Ohio National Guard troops at Kent State University in Ohio on May 4th, 1970. The attendees at the meeting became an interdepartmental committee on intelligence directed by White House aide Tom Charles Houston. The committee produced the notorious Houston Plan, which called for a range of illegal actions against the anti-war movement. Nixon initially approved the plan on July 14th, 1970, but then canceled it on July 27, 1970, on the advice of Attorney General John Mitchell. The Houston Plan, however, lived on in spirit, providing the basis for subsequent abuses by the Nixon administration, including primarily the infamous Plumbers Unit. The plumbers burglarized the offices of Daniel Ellsberg, psychiatrist, on September 19th, 1971, looking for incriminating evidence against Ellsberg. Ellsberg had leaked the Pentagon Papers in the failing New York Times, which published excerpts about the origins of American involvement in the Vietnam War. And on this day in our civil liberties history, in the year 2013, first Snowden-related story published, massive NSA spying exposed. The first news stories based on National Security Agency NSA documents stolen by Edward Snowden were released on this day in news media reports. Snowden was a former contract employee with the NSA who gave the documents to a few news media people he trusted and then fled the country. The news stories revealed the massive illegal spying program that was far larger than anyone had suspected. Snowden worked closely with reporter activist Glenn Greenwald and established working relationships with The Guardian in the UK and the Washington Compost and the failing New York Times and other publications. Additional stories continued to appear for more than a year. Yeah. You're just a crazy person if you said they're spying on. You're just paranoid. No, they're still spying on everybody today. They're spying on us right now. They're gathering up all of the metadata. So, know it, learn it, love it. All right. And this is, man, what do you even say? They got to be staged, right? Here's our segue to the news. Trump had a Wisconsin rally today. Man, this has got to be fake, right? I just hope that this is not real.
Just to see him to breathe the same air that Donald Trump is breathing. Oh my gosh. That'd be awesome. Just to see.
That's got to be fake, right? These people can't really be that deluded. Maybe they are. Maybe Trump's casting his dark occultic spells and has them under his spell. Here's Nancy Mace saying the truth. That's why Trump didn't endorse her, because she tries to halfway say the truth sometimes.
But I got to be honest, the midterms are going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be very difficult. I think we're going to be swimming upstream this cycle because we haven't delivered on our promises. And that's a real problem for us. But I got to be honest, the midterms are going to be a bloodbath.
So the economy is down. We're missing a major sector, the hate sector. The hate sector has been taken offline here a little bit. The Southern Poverty Law Center used $4.1 million in donor funds to fund the KKK and other extremist groups. This is how they use the money. Attend and host extremist groups rallies across the country, grow existing chapters of extremist groups, create new chapters of extremist groups, recruit new individuals into extremist groups, make donations to extremist group leaders, purchase materials for cross burnings, purchase materials to make KKK robes and hoods, create racist paraphernalia that extremist groups sold at rallies, publish extremist literature used in the recruitment of more members, pay everyday living expenses, which allowed the leaders to grow their extremist groups. Let's watch this report out of the War Channel, Fox News, about the Southern Poverty Lie Center.
Justice Department alleges some SPLC employees knew that informants used the money for recruiting and growing their organizations, but they're accusing the SPLC of essentially deceiving donors by not telling them that some of their funds were secretly being used to fund these extremist activities. In one instance, the DOJ says an SPLC employee encouraged 2 KKK members to stay in the movement even though they wanted to leave. The 2 were allegedly offered a $1,200 monthly salary as informants, money that they then used to attend extremist rallies. Per the DOJ, an SPLC worker was aware one of the informants used donors' money to purchase material to make Ku Klux Klan garments for others. The DOJ says both informants were reimbursed by the SPLC with donor money for all expenses they incurred for cross-burning events, to include the wood and fuel used. The SPLC allegedly paid their informants through fake accounts. The new information builds on an indictment that the DOJ filed in April, charging the SPLC with 11 counts, including wire fraud.
The sad thing about all this is it worked. They almost tripled their revenue after the now famous Charlottesville rally, where a person was killed, and one of the guys they were paying was promoting that rally, coordinating transportation.
Attorney Abby Lowell, who represents the SPLC, says this apparent superseding indictment attempts to shore up the flaws in the initial charges, but it changes nothing. The SPLC did not lie to its donors, it did not mislead banks it did business with, and its informant program prevented violence and saved lives. Lowell is also taking issue with the fact that a draft indictment was released to the media before it was unsealed by the court, which they say violates federal grand jury secrecy rules.
Did they blow this whole thing? It looks like they blew the friggin' indictment, these idiots at the DOJ. I wouldn't doubt it on purpose. And I don't say that any of them are idiots. They know what they're doing. But they continually misfile the legal documents. We're draining the swamp, bro. We're getting all the bad guys. We got to wait and see what's going to happen with old Brennan. But our freaking mustache man Bolton, right? But all these guys, Comey, Brennan, all these characters, Letitia James, go down the list, all the bad guys. Oh, it turns out there's something wrong in your legal filing. The case is thrown out. Probably same thing happened with the Southern Poverty Lie Center here.
Imagine donating money to fight hate groups, only to learn you may have been funding them. That's the bombshell at the heart of the Southern Poverty Law Center's federal indictment. The SPLC, once an iconic civil rights watchdog, is now facing serious criminal charges, including wire fraud, false statements to banks, and money laundering conspiracy. Prosecutors allege that the SPLC secretly funneled over $4 million in donor dollars to paid informants inside violent extremist groups, including the KKK, Aryan Nation, and even organizers tied to the deadly 2017 Charlottesville rally. Instead of monitoring hate, they allegedly bankrolled rallies, recruitments, and operations. They built a massive empire, branding conservatives, Christians, and others as hate groups in order to raise hundreds of millions. They were manufacturing the very monsters they claimed to slay. Of course, the SPLC denies it all. But what?
So, hey, there's an opportunity for hate in the economy now with this void left by the SPLC. So, just putting it out there. Okay, here's the don't be a panicking. They got the reflecting pool. What an here's a tiny little golf clap for you guys. Wow, you have unlimited funding, unlimited resources. Wow, government. What an accomplishment. They got the this occult symbolism back online there. as above, so below here. Now, they spent all day yesterday praising how wonderful this was. Well, wow, you guys could actually do something in the government? Shocking, I know. Let's take a look at this. The Washington Monument is a 555-foot, 169 meter tall obelisk on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., built between 1848 and 1884 to honor George Washington. Its design draws directly from ancient Egyptian obelisks, which has led to extensive discussion of its occult, esoteric, hidden, or symbolic meanings, particularly in Freemasonic Egyptian style. These interpretations blend historical architecture with, Egyptian origins and solar symbolism. Ancient Egyptian obelisks were tall, four-sided, tapered stone pillars topped with a small pyramid. This the Bin stone, the premortal mound of creation where the sun god Ra first emerged, rays of the sun froze in stone, often capped with gold or electrum to catch the reflection, the first light of dawn, acting as a solar lightning rod or conduit of divine energy to earth. The Washington Monument copies this exactly. Granite marble staff plus aluminum pyramidium stone. In esoteric views, it functions as a shaft of solar light. Masonic connections. George Washington was a Freemason, as were many involved in the project. Designer Robert Mills was a Mason. The 1848 cornerstone was laid in a full Masonic ceremony with square, level, and plumb tools. Inside the hollow shaft are hundreds of memorial stones, including over 20 from Masonic lodges, featuring classic symbols, including the square and compass, the all-seeing eye, plumb, level, and trowel. The Masons and esoteric historians say the obelisk represents enlightenment, moral uprightness, and the rising of the spirit, echoing Masonic rituals of Hiram Abiff, which parallel Egyptian resurrection myths. Some see the entire DC layout, obelisk aligned with Washington, D.C. and the Capitol, as deliberate sacred geometry encoding Masonic idols of the, quote, New Atlantis or Enlightened Republic. Phallic or Osirian symbology. The most occultic layer. This is the core of many esoteric and conspiratorial interpretations. The Egyptian myth, Osiris, god of resurrection, agriculture, and the afterlife, was murdered and dismembered by Isis, resembled him, but his phallus was lost, eaten by a fish. So she fashioned a gold substitute, his penis, right? The obelisk is widely viewed as an occult, is widely viewed in occult literature as a stylized phallus of Osiris, a symbol of male generative power, solar fertility, and resurrection. The Washington Monument is thus interpreted as America's phallus, or Osiris's missing member, planted in the Capitol as a talisman of national potency and eternal life. Paired with the U.S. Capitol dome, seen as the rounded womb or vagina of ISIS, not the terrorists, calm down, not the terrorists that were created by Western intelligence. The female generative counterpart, it forms a classic Helios Gomez sacred marriage of male and female, sun and moon, heaven and earth energies. This duality appears in many cities. And so, yeah, they're still following this Babylon mystery religion here now. But hey, tiny little golf clap, they were able to get the reflection pool as above, so below for the dark occultic ritual known as America 250. They're getting ready to roll out on all of us. It's very exciting times. They're rolling out the Model Cities Initiative here now. The Model Cities Initiative, as I've been reporting this week, it's extremely concerning. The selected cities, the Justice Department will provide $300 million in grants to hire police officers, modernize equipment, provide training, and improve law enforcement. This historic funding will go to confronting substance abuse, preventing youth crime, and combating repeat offenders. In short, we're committed to making historic improvements in improving the quality of life of city residents nationwide. And that all sounds well and good until you take a deeper look and go, wait a minute, this is funding these 15-minute slave cities. And yeah, but anything for public safety. Again, the government can't and won't keep you safe. So this is the character, no experience whatsoever in intelligence, I guess, unless he's working for private, Rothschild intelligence, that may be. But this character is now the incoming acting director of national intelligence. They're going to fire the whole place. Apparently, he was put there to begin the process of firing a large number of employees as part of a shakeup of the U.S. intelligence community. The Wall Street Journal reports here now. Old Bill Plute, however you say his stupid name. U.S. intelligence told us Iran's not an imminent nuclear threat, so there's really no need to attack them. So all those guys that made the correct assessment, they're all going to be fired here now by Trump, by his lackey. Trump intel choice has no intel experience. He didn't even have security clearance. It's a report out of CNN. So, yeah, perfectly qualified for the job here now. Quite amazing. But he's going to come in and be the hatchet man and fire everybody that disagrees with Trump, that actually wants to provide legitimate intelligence on, are we going to be nuked in 2 weeks, bro? Yeah, anybody that says anything different than the propaganda and lies, hit the road, Jack. So we have a bunch of propaganda and lies to pump and a bunch of war profiteering to do. There you go.
And this is during a military conflict. I call it that because it's really not that much of a war, but it's a military conflict.
Not that much of a war. They just shot some drones at us, but yeah, no big deal. Here's Reza, this general they brought back, right? He's just pissed off looking in general. The negotiations are at a deadlock, and Trump must break this deadlock, according to senior Iranian official. He was interviewed by CNN. Let's take a look at some of these clips. So we're in a Persian standoff, essentially.
A memorandum of understanding can be reached quickly.
In my opinion, the negotiations are at a deadlock, and Trump must break this deadlock.
They are waiting for an answer from Iran.
Iran has openly stated that our assets have been frozen, and you must release them. The Americans are not telling the truth.
It's so tiresome. They said, unfreeze our stolen assets. Stop what you're doing in Lebanon and Gaza. And Trump's like, I'm talking to somebody on a shoe phone over here. More details about Razi. I seen his name spelled a couple different ways. One spelling has 2 E's, one E. Anyway, Mohsen Razi, military advisor to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini now. He was the former head of the IRGC. He said negotiations are a deadlock. We're in a Persian standoff here. Iran is demanding $12 billion in frozen assets be released immediately. And in some of these drafts that we saw, they were talking about $300 billion or $200 billion, all kind of, they're throwing around a lot of money here. Anyhow, the latest $12 billion of frozen assets be released to give us back our stolen loot is essentially what Iran's saying there. Ruled out a Khomeini-Trump meeting. This will not happen. Why is Khomeini mad? Trump just killed his whole family and a bunch of other Iranians. I don't know why you wouldn't want to meet with them. Damn terrorists. If U.S. resumes conflict, Iran will expand the war beyond the Persian Gulf to the Indian Ocean, Red Sea, and Mediterranean. That's right. The Houthis are sitting right there with their finger on the trigger. They're like, tell us when, bro, we're ready. And so Iran and Oman will jointly manage the Strait of Hormuz and charge a maintenance fee. They were calling it an environmental fee. They're like, whatever these fools will believe, that's what we'll name it, because they just make up whatever the meaning of words are as they spew propaganda and lies. He went on in this interview to warn against U.S. aardvark land ground invasion. He said, our land power is many times greater than our missiles. We're in a Persian standoff here, and the whole world's suffering because of this. Now, he went on to say, if the United States enters another war against Iran, the scope of the conflict will stretch. Again, from the Indian Ocean to the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. I'm surprised they didn't whack this guy. They've been trying, I'm sure. They've been trying to whack this dude, but somehow he's still around, giving CNN interviews for that matter. And turns out, I know, they would never lie to us, but that's all they do is continually lie to us. Turns out there was some serious damage, actually, caused by an Iranian strike on USS Gerald Ford. Some leaked footage has exposed the U.S. Navy's extensive cover-up regarding the severe fire aboard its flagship aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford. Here's some of that video, leaked video showing the damage caused there. But nothing ever bad happened. I'm sure it's fine. What they say, the dryer just overheated in the laundry room. That's all it was. Yeah, the Pentagon downplayed it initially. This was back in March. That was newly revealed evidence by CNN confirms that the $13 billion nuclear-powered supercarrier suffered devastating damage that crippled its capabilities the Inferno entirely hollowed out living quarters and left over 600 sailors displaced, forcing the carrier to completely halt flight sorties for 2 days and retreat to Greece for emergency repairs. We were told that never even happened. You're crazy. Just like you're crazy if you say there's black helicopters and all the rest of this. No, they're lying propagandists is what it is here now. Iranian missiles, more of this lies. And again, we're going to see bigger U.S. Troops dead and injured than what they've initially reported, as well with the 13 dead U.S. soldiers. There's more than that. They're covering it up and lying about it. We don't have, that's my theory and claim here. We don't have evidence, but I do believe that will come out as we go along here. Iranian missiles severely damaged the Combined Air Operations Center, CAOC, at the Al Undi Air Base in Qatar during the early weeks of the Iranian war, rendering the facility unusable. No personnel were injured because the U.S. had anticipated the attack and shifted operations to Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina before the Iranian war began. That's a report out of Air and Space Forces magazine. But they said everything's fine. Iran, that's nothing. They literally blew up all our bases over there, but hey. Trump said, we do not need a deal with Iran to get their enriched uranium. If they killed U.S. troops, it would be a good reason to restart the conflict. As we've seen, the mindset of the military leaders, the commander-in-chief, they're going to use U.S. soldiers as pawns in the game. And hey, if you're cannon fodder, to paraphrase Henry Kissinger here now, dumb military men are animals, cannon fodder, essentially, to paraphrase the Nobel Prize winning Henry Kissinger. And that same mindset is well and good at the Pentagon today. Here's old Lindsey Warmonger Graham. Maybe he'll go back to Disneyland with a pink wand and stalk children.
I go back to South Carolina. I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters over to the Mideast. What I want you to do in the Mideast, to our friends in Saudi Arabia and other places, step forward and say, this is my fight too. I join America. I'm publicly involved in bringing this regime down. If you don't, you're making a great mistake, and you're going to cut off the ability to have a better relationship.
He wants to send the sons and daughters of South Carolina to go die in an illegal foreign war of aggression in the Middle East. And got my vote. Like, who's voting for that? Like, really? Joe Kent fired. Was he the top counterterrorism dude at the intel agency, right? He was fired for saying there's no reason to attack Iran. Let's hear a little bit what he had to say. He's asking, he posted this video earlier today. He said, what happened to President Trump? From the Iran war to the Epstein files to Maha and mass deportations, what explains all of these reversals? Let's hear a little bit. He posted like a 15-minute video. We're not going to watch it all. We'll play a little bit of it.
I know that many of us are very frustrated with the Trump administration, what has been promised versus what has actually been delivered. We're in the midst of this quagmire with Iran right now. President Trump ran on not starting any new wars. He ran against getting us involved in a war with Iran. Yet here we are, caught in a situation that even he himself wants to get us out of. He basically has said so. He's trying to negotiate with the Iranians, who now, by any measure, really have the upper hand. We're dealing with a more extreme element inside Iran. The Straits of Hormuz is choked off. And so we're attempting to negotiate our way out of this. The president doesn't want to resume hostilities because obviously there's no military solution to this conflict. If there was, he simply would just pull us out. And the president basically foresaw all of this in his first administration and as a candidate. And that's why he was against further wars in the Middle East, but in particular a war with Iran, because it was obvious what the Iranians would do. There would be a rally around the flag effect if we attacked the Ayatollah. Straits of Hormuz would get shut down. Our bases in the region would get hit. This was all known for quite some time. The president was aware of this as well. As I pointed out before, the Israelis did influence him into getting into this war. They did convince him that it was probably going to be quick and easy like Venezuela. We got a false sense of confidence from that.
Now they're going to fire all the intel guys that say, hey, you already knew all this because it's obvious, it's self-evident what the reaction of Iran was going to be. Well, if you even say, hey, it's self-evident, you're fired. That's what they're doing right now, purging the intel agencies. That report out of CNN, and I saw it a couple other places too. Iran launched several drones towards the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. forces say they shot down at least 4 of them. I think even U.S. Central Command put out a post about it. Let's see. They did. They say they posted this an hour ago as your U.S. Central Command. And let me point out again the logo there. The logo of the United States Central Command is sitting right on top of, look where. Know what I mean? An hour ago, they put out this post in regards to this most recent engagement with Iran. Moments ago, CENTCOM forces shot down 4 Iranian one-way attack drones that were launched toward the Strait of Hormuz. The attack drones pose an immediate threat to regional maritime traffic. U.S. forces subsequently struck Iranian coastal surveillance radar sites in Grok and Qassam Islands to defend against further attacks. American forces remain vigilant and postured to respond to unjustified Iranian aggression in self-defense. Again, Iran should have never built their country around our military bases and around all of our Navy ships that it says in our Constitution are mandated to police the Strait of Hormuz, right? Right. So it's ongoing. It's an ongoing conflict. We have more about that in the geopolitical section. Let's move on to now. I know it's racist and hateful, but they are painted black. They're black helicopters. They're called Black Hawk helicopters. Turns out U.S. Special Forces are conducting urban warfare drills in the city of Industry and in Los Angeles. Here's some video of that. Live fire drills, apparently. And so that's exciting. The U.S. military is doing live fire urban warfare training drills in Southern California. More reporting on it. Public service announcement was put out on Instagram by the Sheriff's Department. Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department says tonight, they're talking about last night, I believe. Yeah, last night. Tonight, the U.S. military will be conducting a training exercise in the city of Industry at 1 a.m. Please be aware that you may hear sounds of simulated gunfire and explosives and see military helicopters overhead. Industry Sheriff Station is aware of this activity, and there's no reason to be alarmed. No, we should be extremely alarmed. Why the hell are they doing live fire urban warfare training on U.S. soil with black helicopters? We should be extremely concerned. An abandoned Long Beach hotel was the site of a dramatic U.S. military raid early this morning, part of a series of urban warfare exercises across Los Angeles area this week. The training took place at the Golden State Hotel on Pacific Coast Highway near Deer Drive shortly after midnight, 1 a.m., they said in that press release. Nothing to worry about. Multiple military helicopters were seen circling the building before dropping troops onto the roof. Troops deployed flashbang grenades and went door to door inside an old hotel using simulated gunfire. The Pasadena Police Department alerted residents in a statement around 5:30 p.m. Wednesday, warning of limited helicopter activity, controlled explosions, and simulated weapons fire. What the hell, man? The United States military has not offered an explanation of the timing of the exercises. And so one of the residents there, John Burkett, said right after the fires, for a lot of people, everyone's a little bit traumatized. Kind of like that's what they're doing, trauma-based mind control here with military exercises in your neighborhood for your own safety. Of course, here's a report out of LA Channel 4 News.
Overnight in the City of Industry and in Long Beach. This video from the City of Industry shows helicopters sweeping over the La Puente Mall during the exercise. People there say they heard loud bangs and even gunshots. Training exercises were held the previous night in Pasadena and in Irvine. We have made calls to try to find out exactly what these training operations are for.
Well, to intimidate the public is what it's for, obviously. Does Fat Bob say Dragnet? I run with Dragnet. Let's get through this Epstein 2.0 island story. There, people point out similarities between Ivanka Trump's new private island and Epstein Island. Ivanka Trump is facing criticism online after revealing plans for a major development project on a private island in the Mediterranean. The project centers on Sazan Island, a largely underdeveloped island off the coast of Albania that was once used as a Soviet military base. An unbelievably beautiful island, they're calling it here now. It's an unbelievably beautiful 1,400 hectare private island in the middle of the Mediterranean. Well, they should have that. Jared Kushner deserves that as a reward for helping start the Iranian war. Here's some protesters. Albanian protesters rally against Jared Kushner resort backed by Prime Minister Rama. Albania is not for sale. Albania belongs to the American people, or to the Albanian people. Now it belongs to the Kushners and the Trumps. And we decide what is done here. Let's hear from these protesters. They should probably be imprisoned.
Albania is not for sale. Albania belongs to the Albanian people, and we decide what we want to do here. It's not that some corrupted politicians who run now Albania can decide what they can do with our property, with the Albanian heritage, the natural heritage, the cultural heritage.
People want him to resign because he is trying to give the land of our country. He's trying to treat our country as a personal property of him and his family, and is collaborating.
They're all pissed off there in Albania about this, rightfully so. Thousands of Albanians are protesting Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner's $4 billion private island. Jared Kushner's building a resort on a former Soviet submarine base. He says he discovered the island while on vacation abroad on Nat Rothschild's yacht. He says he later met Albania's prime minister on the same yacht. The island has 3,600 Cold War nuclear bunkers, miles of tunnels, and underground hospital, an underground school, and an underground cinema. Features the development plan markets as suitable for adaptive reuse. The Albanians are in the streets. The international press is laughing at Ivanka's "we discovered the island" line. The questions almost nobody is bothering to ask are what's actually being built there, and on whose behalf, and through which network. Spoiler alert, the network is the one Jeffrey Epstein spent his last decade assembling. That's a report by Tom Elliott on his Substack, and he goes into a big old deep dive detailing it all there for you. I'll link it at Weaponized News, or you can go to Tom Elliott Substack and read up more about it. But there's a whole lot about it. Billionaire Rothschild heir owns Explorer super yachts, and that's where they allegedly had these meetings and made the discovery of this island. Now it's a Epstein Island 2.0, obviously here now, and they're also going to use it as bunkers. So when they piss off the whole world, they've already got the Albanians all pissed off to the point of torches and pitchforks and running them off the land as per usual for the same. It's the same freaking cult we've been dealing with since the beginning of time. And so they're going to piss everybody off to the point they're literally driven to a private island where they'll have a bunch of slaves there to torture and to do their trauma-based mind control and get the adrenochrome and the whole routine that we continue to cover here at Weaponized News for you. And that's what this whole project is looking like, Epstein Island 2.0. On to HHS, meme of the day, public health reporting now. How life feels when you ditch highly processed foods. And this is what they're coming up with. Are they keeping secret our communications between dolphins is really what's important here now. I think so. But what a meme of the day from HHS. Eat real food. Thanks for reminding us. But we can't afford real food, bro, because the economy's shit, because you assholes are con artist thieves. TV doctor, Dr. Oz, pushing that drugs on everybody. Don't do drugs, kids. Don't do their drugs, legal or illegal. Trump RX is free and easy to use for every American, they say. And they just keep pumping this Trump RX. So you can't afford groceries. You get a $50 rebate on Ozempic on trumprx.gov. So eating's overrated because we can't afford the food any longer due to the failing fiat debt-based monetary system. They refuse to reform anything of any significant meaning, and they just keep the con going here now. Shoot up some synthetic Gila monster venom. You don't need to eat, bro. They got you covered at trumprx.gov. And then this ridiculous nonsense out of the Daily Mail. They say new AI miracle could protect against all viruses, including the bats and the Ebola. Cutting edge jab technology is future proofed against new mutations. Sure. Researchers have developed a new way to prevent people falling ill and potential new bat times coming about. Let's just say, dubbed a universal miracle technology, the University of Cambridge-led team believe that it could be used to develop miracles that offer broad protection across thousands of variants of bugs out there. It's just so whatever, dude. I guess it's the greatest thing ever, right? And so we should all mandate everybody gets it right in their freaking neck. And with that, let's take our live commercial break here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. Go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself a holograph sticker over there. It's representing Pride Month, all the colors of the rainbow there, weaponizednews.com/shop. If you don't like Pride Month so much and the rainbow, we do have a clear background sticker and a white. Here's the clear sticker. That's an old demo model. You'll get a brand new one. And the white background sticker. 3 stickers over there. You got coffee mugs, baseball caps, T-shirts, all kind of gear over there. Shot glasses, as this show has been known to induce heavy bouts of drinking. Go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself some stickers over there, all kind of gear. Patron the store, help support independent reporting and analysis, brought to you 5 days a week. Broadcasting live, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern Time, weaponizednews.com. We take donations as well. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet, address, Cash App, all in the links in the description below this video, all right down there. And if you want to become a paid subscriber, we would really appreciate that on Weaponized News Substack. The show's live on Substack right now. I provide a summary of the show and all the links to almost everything we talk about. Weaponized News Substack. Everything's free there, nothing behind a paywall. Show your support for independent reporting and analysis by becoming a paid subscriber of Weaponized News Substack. We appreciate all of the subscribers, the paid subscribers especially, the patrons of the store, and donors. Any which way you choose to support this broadcast is much appreciated. Thank you very much. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All that's free for you. I understand the economy's in the tank, but hey, I gave you the option of going to trumprx.gov and get some Ozempic so you wouldn't be hungry. Looking out for you guys out there in the audience. Just kidding, just kidding. I do appreciate all of the listeners out there. Thank you for tuning in on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. Welcome back to the second half of the show. On this June 5th, 2026 edition, some executive orders came down regarding IE out of the White House today. AI, National Security Presidential Memorandum, NSPM 11. What a mouthful that is. Here's that presidential memorandum. to all the tyranny right here. Artificial intelligence is the national security enterprise. Artificial intelligence will be among the most transformative technologies to national security in the history of the United States. When adopted appropriately, AI can help protect our warfighters during peacetime. We never have peacetime, bro, because you warmongers are constantly shooting and bombing people, continuing, and on the battlefield, enable precise operations to minimize harm to civilians. That's laughable. And ensure the United States continues to maintain technological overmatch against our adversaries and strategic competitors. It goes on. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but we're going to get into how all this is a giant boondoggle for big tech AI scams. Actually, they're going to privatize the gains and socialize the losses, a la too big to fail, too big to jail. We're getting ready for the federal government to take a stake in these failed AI fraud companies here now. And so they're going to be declared at some point in the very near future, too big to fail, too big to jail. And you, taxpayer, are on the hook for their fraud, a la the big banks. We've seen this story play out before now, haven't we? The White House issued a fact sheet. President Donald J. Trump signs historic directive on AI in the national security enterprise. And so it's untouchable now because it's being tucked under the veil of national security. So they're allowed to lie, cheat, and steal. It's national security for our own good, because God forbid we lose the AI Cold War race against China. That's the backdrop of all of this coming down on us here now. And I'll save reading through all of this. Maybe we'll circle back next week, but because we had a lot of more reporting. Here's a little bit about a report from Ben Swan. A dystopian digital ID system is being rolled out in the UK under the promise of convenience and efficiency, and they're going to roll out that same system here, and they lie and say, oh, there's no central bank digital currency, there's no national digital ID. Yeah, well, there's all that. They just change up the name and change up the propaganda a little bit, but we got all that coming toward us. So we take a look at Big Brother tyranny, and it's all coming here for us as well.
Tool tends to spread, first to allies, then to partners, and eventually to Washington. And that's why tonight we are talking about the United Kingdom's plan to roll out a national digital ID system, a program that some supporters call modernization, but critics call it something else entirely. They call it dystopia. So what exactly is a digital ID? Well, the government says it will be a secure credential stored on your phone. It will contain your name, your date of birth, your photo, your nationality, or residency status. And it will be used to verify who you are when accessing government services, opening accounts, applying for benefits, and more. Supporters say it will reduce fraud, it will streamline government services, that it will make life so much easier, right? But the question isn't what the system is supposed to do. The question is, what could it become? Because if we've learned anything over the last 30 years, it's that government programs always expand. The Patriot Act, right? It was supposed to target terrorists. FISA surveillance was supposed to have limits. Emergency powers were supposed to be temporary. And yet somehow, those programs never seem to shrink. They only grow. And that's why some of the loudest critics of this plan are asking questions that governments are not eager to answer. Questions like this: how much will this actually cost? We heard it's free, but nothing's actually free. How much money will it actually save? What evidence exists that it will achieve any goals? And perhaps most importantly, what happens when the purpose of the system expands? The UK is allocating $20 billion for digital IDs, but they don't actually know yet whether or not the benefits will outweigh the costs. There's been little to no research into the matter, and yet the train, it's already leaving the station. That should make you pause, because once a national digital ID system exists, it doesn't just verify who you are, it becomes the gatekeeper. a key, and keys, sure, they can open doors, they can also lock them. There's another concern here that digital rights advocates keep raising, right? They say the real issue isn't the ID itself. It's what happens when that ID becomes connected to government databases, or worse, to a government app that follows you everywhere you go. What starts as a convenient way to prove who you are can quickly become a system that records everything you do. And once those records exist, the question becomes, who has access to them? How long are they stored? And what might they be used for in the future? See, think about a world that we're already building. Facial recognition cameras everywhere you go, AI-powered surveillance, centralized government databases, digital currencies. Individually, each of these programs is sold as a tool of convenience. Individually, each one is a problem in and of itself. But together, they become something that's almost unmanageable.
He said social credit system. He goes on, it's like a 16-minute report. I'm going to cut it off there, though. It's, yeah, we should be extremely concerned. All out mark of the beast, total control system. You disagree with whatever the government does, you're cut off, bro, because you're a damn terrorist. You can't buy or sell. And so that's where we're at. That's where we're at. They're rolling out this beast system right now. The New York legislature, state of New York, has passed landmark legislation to stop surveillance pricing and ban corporations from using personal data to set individualized prices. That's a report out of More Perfect Union. And so price fixing, anybody? I don't know. They just break so many laws. All these laws are already on the books, and they just break them, and no enforcement. On to Epstein reporting now. Here's one of the survivors.
Survivors were outed. Like, there were Jane Does in these files who were mentioned over 500 times. That's so unacceptable. Nude photos, you'll hear us talk about that a lot today. That these are moments, they basically distributed porn. Our government distributed porn.
That's the Trump DOJ. And they did put out naked pictures of victims of Epstein. There's a report, high-profile witnesses testify about Epstein's death and his crimes. Report out of ABC 25 there.
What two high-profile witnesses told a congressional committee about the Jeffrey Epstein case. The jail guard who was supposed to be watching Epstein the night he died in his jail cell, and former Attorney General Pam Bondi both recently spoke before the House Oversight Committee. Tonight we had the transcripts of what they said behind closed doors. Good evening. Thanks for joining us here at 11. I'm Todd McDermott. Ari Height has been poring over the transcripts and has more on what was said and unsaid.
We're talking about hours and hours of interviews that were conducted last month. They happened behind closed doors and they were not videotaped. So these transcripts are all anybody has about what was said. The first interview was done with Tova Noel, a guard at the prison where Jeffrey Epstein died, and perhaps the last person to see him alive. In the interview, Noel confirmed it was her job to count prisoners, but admitted many of those did not occur. On the night Epstein died, she blamed a lack of staffing at the prison. Noel described how she and another guard went to bring Epstein breakfast, and the other guard found Epstein unresponsive. Noel was asked by Congress, what did he see when he looked in? Oh, I don't know. We never spoke after the incident. Noel was adamant that she had nothing to do with Epstein's death and adamant that he committed suicide. Quote, because he was the only one in his cell. Nobody else was in there. 11 days later, another interview, this one with former Attorney General Pam Bondi, mostly about the release of the Epstein files. She answered many of the questions saying she had no knowledge. Quote, I dedicated that oversight over this process to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Bondi was asked about Epstein's longtime partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, saying she should die in prison, calling her a monster. When asked about President Donald Trump, she mostly declined to answer. Quote, I am not going to discuss anything with the department or discussions that did or did not take place. She did, however, say the Department of Justice has released all Jeffrey Epstein-related information that relates to President Trump. In fact, she says every file that's required to be public has been made public. To my knowledge, they've all been released. Bondi also acknowledged that a lot of information about victims was released. She called those mistakes, said it was human error, and she apologized for it. If you want to read these transcripts for yourself, we've posted links to both of the interviews on our website, WPBF.com.
I'll post links at Weaponized News Substack as well. 5 takeaways from Bondi's Oversight Committee transcript release now. 5 big takeaways. She blamed everything on Todd Blanche, the old Spider-Man meme finger pointing game here now. No, it's all of them are complicit in this cover-up. She says Blanche was in charge and did an excellent job. Bondi learned of Maxwell's prison transfer from the news, she claimed. Sure. Monster Maxwell should die in prison. We heard that. Bondi insists that there are no outstanding Epstein documents. Congress says there's a lot. And yeah, there's nothing about Trump. Sure. Again, the Epstein reading room. You can, I posted a link before, but for the activists out there that want to go ahead and post this in your neighborhood and area, here is that PDF file that you can print out, and it goes over the Trump and Epstein timeline, the relationship throughout the years, laid out on this PDF document to print up and post in a public area, legally and lawfully, of course. Leon Black, a listener, pointed that out when I was going over all. I had posted about the Epstein administration, i.e. Trump administration, all the names, and one that fell through the cracks that I missed was Leon Black. He's all up in the Epstein files, right? Leon Black's son is sitting on top of I can't remember what federal agency, but he works in the federal government now. What is he in? He's in, and he's all up in there in all these dirty deeds as well. This guy right here looks like a stone cold psychopath. It's working right now. Some commerce department, I forget the exact name of it, but foreign commerce, something. So dirty, man. We named the 2 new names that came out that got criminal referrals by the House Oversight Committee. Former Miami Beach Mayor Philip Levine and hairstylist Frederick Fekai. They were referred for criminal prosecution as being co-conspirators in the Epstein conspiracy.
You just mentioned it. She mentioned Todd Blanche almost 100 times. And 50 of those times, she directly went back and blamed Todd Blanche for all sorts of problems within the Epstein investigation. She spent her entire interview blaming Todd Blanche, saying he was in charge of the redactions. Todd Blanche was in charge of, or the one that should know about the move of Ghislaine Maxwell, by the way. She refused to take any responsibility. She had no idea. But you know what we should do? We should ask Todd Blanche, because Todd Blanche would probably know at the Bureau of Prisons why Ghislaine Maxwell.
And Todd Blanche was Trump's personal attorney before he became acting director of the Department of Justice. I'm sure everything's above board there. had this one queued up. I don't know what happened to the video. Oh, here it is. Is this the right video? That video didn't work out. Some of these sites, it's hard to get the video. The Epstein Memorial Reading Room is now moving on to Washington, D.C. It was the exhibit, the Epstein Reading Room, with the 3.5 million pages of documents released, went on there in New York, and now it's moving on to Washington, D.C. So they're going on a tour here now to further publicize the Epstein files. There's a big fancy report that CNN put out. Let's go through this a little bit. Epstein's final 9 months, how he plotted to escape justice as law enforcement closed in. And they got a fancy animation, whole fancy site here on this story, published yesterday by CNN. The Department of Justice has released about 3.5 million pages from the Epstein files, spanning a period of more than 30 years. The story is about the final 9 months of Jeffrey Epstein's life from November 28th, 2018 through his death, and how the cat and mouse chase unfolded between Epstein and federal law enforcement, ultimately leaving victims feeling justice was denied once again. In November 2018, a bombshell, the Miami Herald published a 3-part series examining how Epstein evaded justice in 2008 despite sexual abuse allegations from dozens, if not hundreds, of young women. And that's what they go through here in this report. Charges Epstein was facing prior to the NPA: first count of solicitation of minors for prostitution under federal law, 1 count of procuring underage girls for prostitution under federal law, potential sentence up to 45 years in prison. Right? And what did he get? He got jail at home, basically. And we had reports of victims saying that he was still raping girls while under house arrest, essentially, now. And he had a pass. He can go in and out. He had the key to open and close his cell door there. So country club. And then back again to Alex Acosta, the original prosecutor there in Florida, when asked why Epstein didn't face a tougher sentence or tougher prosecution, he said he's owned by intelligence, right? And so, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. He was working with all of these intelligence agencies, the CIA, Mossad, MI6, but sitting above all that, Rothschild spy agency, off the books officially, of course. But numerous times in the Epstein files, Epstein bragged and promoted himself as working for the Rothschilds. And so they go through here the highlights of it. Yeah, it's all quite horrific. The cover-up continues by Trump's Department of Justice. I'll put up that link at Weaponized News Substack, so you can go through it. It's a pretty detailed, fancy article there on CNN with a lot of animations as well. Yeah, they say Miami Herald said Alexander Acosta gave Jeffrey Epstein the deal of a lifetime. Yeah, the first time around he should have got 20 to life, but that didn't happen. Now did it, because he was above it all as an intelligence agent of the Rothschilds. On to the economic reporting. Here's Trump earlier today at his Wisconsin rally.
They came in and they said affordability. They made up the word because that's the only thing they're good at. Although I'm good at making up words. They go.
They literally just make up whatever propaganda and lies, making up words, destroying the meaning of words. It's quite disgusting. So Elon Musk and SpaceX are ready to do this initial public offering where they're going to get $1 gazillion. I forget even what it is now, $1 trillion. I'll play a little bit of this report about the biggest welfare whore the world's ever known, Elon Musk.
Into space, I hope we go to Mars and all that stuff. To see that get turned into a way to transfer wealth from ordinary people who are just trying to save for retirement to people like Elon Musk is just depressing.
SpaceX is going public this month. It could be the biggest IPO in history.
It could also make Elon Musk the world's first trillionaire.
Millions of Americans like you and me are about to become SpaceX shareholders. We won't buy a single share.
The reason why I described it as a bag holder situation is because it feels like it's getting engineered to be one.
Bag holders, IPO, valuations. Sounds complicated. It's supposed to. But you don't need a finance degree to understand. You need 10 minutes. The whole scheme hinges on something you've probably heard of. Index funds. A good chunk of American retirement savings are tied to them. You pick a fund, it picks an index, which picks the stocks. You don't think about it. That's the point. Index funds are supposed to be safe. Passive. The rules are the rules. Except, if you look closely, the rules seem like they're being rewritten to make people like Elon Musk fabulously wealthy at everyone else's expense.
Every piece of evidence we have is that the IPO is being engineered to rise very rapidly after it prices and then fall very dramatically after that. That is a recipe for retail investors especially to take large losses.
Here's how the scheme works and what you can do about it.
So are there really 3 hours of questions? Or has it? Are you fucking serious?
Yeah. I have to be careful about saying things about companies that might go public.
That's never been a problem for you, Elon.
You can't hype companies that might go public.
$1.75 trillion. That's the value Elon Musk has floated for SpaceX when it goes public this month. More than Walmart. Is it worth that?
SpaceX is a real company. It shoots satellites up in the sky. It provides things like Starlink. It's a very impressive engineering company.
That's Robin Wigglesworth, editor at the Financial Times.
There is definitely real business to be done there and real asset value there. The question is whether it is as large as Musk claims it is.
George Perkins advises investors where to put their money.
Last year, SpaceX made about $19 billion. Most of it from Starlink and government contracts.
But a company's market value is partially a bet on what that company will earn in the future. That bet is called a revenue multiple.
Facebook went public at roughly 10 times its projected revenue. SpaceX is asking for over 50 times.
The combination of sheer size and this extreme multiple is completely unprecedented.
It's a giant scam, and they go on in that report. I'll post the whole thing if you're interested at Weaponized News Substack. It's a giant scam. Edward Dowd said, wow, this is a tell. There is no path to profitability. Trump administration floats the idea of government possibly taking a stake in OpenAI. Retail investors are actually celebrating that SpaceX is reserving 30% of the IPO for them. They're going to get burned big time here now, as it's set up to do. So if you're a retail investor out there, be aware of all the hype of this SpaceX IPO. And what they left out of that report, or we didn't watch the whole thing, I don't know if they mentioned it, but yeah, SpaceX's military industrial complex to the core, a spy system, And as we continue to report here, it will be used to triangulate your location and drone you if you step out of line and are called a terrorist by the powers that be. Report out of technocracy.news, Patrick Wood's outfit. The wheels are coming off the bus, they say. The great AI con is about to go down in history as the biggest scam ever. Corporate executives worldwide followed the Pied Piper, those that offered strong but delusive enticement, like Sam Altman, into a multi-trillion-dollar black hole, only to find that they have no return on investment studies done before pouring billions of dollars into this future technocracy. Oh man. And so again, they privatize the gains and socialize the losses. They're setting the stage right now under national security to be declared too big to fail, too big to jail. That's what all of this is about. As they're building these surveillance centers, i.e. data centers. The fake jobs numbers came out today. Job numbers demolish expectations. The Labor Department meme says here 172,000 jobs added. But then every time they put out these job numbers, which are fake, to pump up the market crashed today, basically. Everything way down. Anyhow, they put it up there to keep this old Ponzi scheme going. And then they quietly revise it down, as has been the continuing trend for years here now. Somehow, some way, we keep on buying these lies. And this bastard right here, Kevin Hassett, always on the television with a shit-eating grin, and he knows he's lying to you.
From companies around the world, $18 trillion in new investment. And we're seeing, if you looked at the advanced durables numbers, equipment investment through the roof, up 3%, in March, in one of the biggest months we've ever seen, that people are building factories, creating jobs, creating the golden age, the boom that is a logical supply side response to the big, beautiful bill, the no tax on tips, the no tax on overtime, and the rest. And so we're seeing the benefit of that. And you might recall that when we were talking about this a year ago, there were a lot of naysayers who said, well, we can't possibly even have positive jobs numbers because of our immigration policy. But the fact is that we're getting positive jobs numbers because we've got high wage growth and native-born Americans are rushing into the labor market in droves. And so that negative...
There's people all over the place posting videos after video after video that have all this experience in whatever field. And like, there's no jobs. What are these guys talking about? The NBA Finals game. So they're having the National Basketball Association championships now. And so the cheapest ticket price there in New York, $8,000. Everyday Americans can't afford these sporting events. Trump says watch it on TV. Here's audio talking about that.
Brunson's fantastic. Towns is fantastic. You just have a great team.
What do you think that the game you're going to, the cheapest price for the game 3 you're going to is $8,000? Everyday Americans can't afford these sporting events.
No, but they can watch it on television. It's sort of semi-free to watch it on television, but that's the way life goes.
He's looking out for you, America. Trump put out this post. What a great jobs report, like just announced. Stocks should go up, not down. That's the way it was for 200 years. Growth does not mean inflation. How else can a country attain greatness? As they continue insider trading out of the Trump administration. He personally is pumping stocks, dumping them. Wall Street panics as stock markets crash deep into the red despite excellent May jobs report. Maybe they know that. I think they know that all this economic data coming out of the government is complete and utter bullshit. NASDAQ falls 4% and suffers worst day since April 2025 as traders flee chip stocks. CNBC. And let's take a look here at some of our major indicators about where we're at with all these different markets and commodities. The Dow Jones Industrial Average still well above 50,000. Maybe that's why we got those two names in the Epstein files, right? But everything down, the S&P 500, NASDAQ, Dow Jones, all in the red. S&P down 2.64%, NASDAQ down 4.7%, Dow Jones Industrial Average down 1.35%, all in the red today. Gold and silver way down. Price of oil, well, the price of oil down as well. Gold way down to $4,328. Silver way down to $67. Bitcoin went way down. It came back up a little bit right now to $61,000 about. So that's where we're at. A big red mark on this Friday, June 5th. As it appears, everybody's pulling their money back for all these gazillion-dollar IPOs of this AI fraud BS and SpaceX, the military-industrial complex company. The Trump administration issued guidance allowing banks to consider a customer's immigration status when they apply for loans and credit cards. According to Bloomberg, Morgan Stanley, this is what they're talking about with the valuations way overhyped. Morgan Stanley says SpaceX revenue to hit $3.4 trillion by 2040. Really? And was Goldman Sachs yesterday was saying, they're going to 10x or 100x their revenue in 3 years by 2030? I believe that's what they were hyping yesterday. The stock market has never been so good when people have felt so bad. Headline out of the Wall Street Journal. And this is a funny one. And inventory accounting is a difficult task. And AI, apparently the system that Starbucks was using is not up to the task. Starbucks tried to use AI as an inventory system to count syrup bottles, and it kept hallucinating the inventory. That's a report out of TechSpot. And so AI having difficulty accounting for inventory there at Starbucks, surprisingly enough. We were told it will replace everything and everyone, but it has a hard time counting inventory of syrup at Starbucks. The AAA national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline today, it went down again about 2 cents. We're still well above $4 at $4.22 on average across the country for a gallon of gasoline there, as you can see, according to AAA tracker. And then on to our household burden of this Iran war. We're well above $54 billion. According to Brown University, the Watson School of International and Public Affairs, we are now looking at the household burden across both gasoline and diesel at $414.26 per household. And the consumer burden since the beginning of the war, February 28, 2026, is $54.3 billion. And we come back on Monday, it'll be well above $55 billion as that tracker just keeps on ticking there now, as you can see. So, yeah, oil closed today at $90.24 here in America for a gallon or for a barrel. And there's different calculations there. Brent crude, West Texas intermediary crude. They have different valuations for the quality of the oil there. But yeah, overall down a little bit. Oil prices remain steady today after Oman stated that operations at his Mina Al Falah port were continuing as usual, following a Reuters report suggesting disruptions after an explosion. So what is up? Russia-Ukraine war continues here now. Leaked contracts show Russia supplying Iran with air-to-air and air-to-ground missiles. Reported Ukrainian United 24 cited as leaked as the source for leaked Russian contracts. Here they are, and that was posted by the Clash report. Here's those documents showing that Russia selling a whole lot of arms to Iran, actually. Also, Su-35 fighter jet and a bunch of these different missile systems. So reported yesterday, the open letter written by Zelensky to Putin, to Russia, calling for meetings at the end of the war, maybe. Turns out, unfortunately, the Russian side has once again chosen war. Zelensky said today, everyone hearing today's response, it was a weak response. He simply does not want to end the war. This is Zelensky talking about Putin. I think this response disappointed many people around the world. He does not want to change anything and does not want to admit that this war is liked only by him and those who profit from it. They were all smiling broadly today. This means Russia may have less money and pressure on Russia must increase. That's what Zelensky had to say about that, acting like he's winding down the war. And then the flip move here now by Putin on Ukraine, America, NATO. He says Russia has evidence that Iran is seeking, has no evidence that Iran is seeking to develop a nuclear weapon. And he also says he says Ukraine can never have a nuclear weapon. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, right? House passes bill yesterday, U.S. House of Representatives passes a bill to give Ukrainian billions in additional military funding. And so we continue to fund this never-ending war with Russia. It's very disturbing, to say the least, but the money keeps flowing there, doesn't it? The money keeps flowing. Yeah, so I guess it has to pass the Senate and then go on to the president. But the Ukraine Support Act passed by a vote of 226 to 195, with 18 Republicans joining Democrats in showing their support for the Ukrainian war effort. Stop it, guys. Stop it, guys. Department of War meme of the day. We have a few from them touting the first 500 days of Trump. Department of War says strengthened the arsenal of freedom, enhanced U.S. military lethal strike capacity with new entrants, proliferated AI across the Department of War, i.e. Skynet, reauthorized SBIR, STTR for small business innovators, protected department research from malign foreign influence, enhanced warfighter lethality. They're great achievements by the Department of War. Anthropic is helping the NSA run offensive cyber attacks against China and Iran while simultaneously suing the Pentagon in court over AI safety guardrails. 6 Anthropic engineers are embedded inside the NSA, customizing the restricted Mythos model for infiltrating foreign networks. Mythos was deemed far too dangerous for public release due to its ability to autonomously discover and exploit vulnerabilities. That's a report out of the Financial Times. Anthropic Project Glass Wing. And so it's good to know they're working with the NSA. They're on the spying program while suing them as well. Another meme of the day, AI-enabled warfighting, compute talent, speed, augmenting decision superiority, lethality, and efficiency. Now, that's coming out of the Department of War. Breaking the habit of legacy systems, AI-enabled warfighting. The one from yesterday, meme of the day from yesterday, give the enemy nightmares. Where are we at here? We're almost at the 2-hour mark. Another meme of the day out of the Department of War here now, touting America 250 years of war fighting. We want peace already, bro. We know it's a never-ending war here in America. Can we have a moment of peace? No, apparently not. Let's see. Yeah, there's touting all this, selling how great killing everybody is at the Department of War. Here is strengthening America's lethal arsenal of freedom. More follow-up on these, the readiness, technology readiness and experimentation initiative, T-Rex. And they're on a tour trying to recruit American companies to build them kill machines, essentially. Here's propaganda video from the Department of War, strengthening America's lethal arsenal of freedom.
Nobody is going to mess with us, believe me.
If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on Earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you.
Under my leadership, we're done stringing industry along with endless maybes. My commitment to you is fast yeses and fast nos, so you can get back to doing what you're doing best, innovating for the warfighter.
Maximizing lethality. Technology readiness experimentation, T-Rex, they're calling it now. It's a call for all hands on deck here now from American industry to maximize the lethality and warfighting capability of the Department of War to kill more people more efficiently. Oh, the Houthis. The Houthis are still there with their finger on the trigger. Another war we lost that we don't like to talk about. We bombed the hell out of Yemen and the Houthis. They're still there, bro. And we backed off, right? But yeah, we lost a war against Yemen. Nobody wants to talk about. Houthi leader said they're ready for the next round of escalation. They're like getting bored over there in Yemen, the Houthis. Famous for having these million man. I didn't even look today. They probably have them. They made it harder to find their rallies, but famous for having these million man rallies there in Yemen where everybody has AK-47s. Very inspiring, actually. But Yesterday, al-Houthi, this dude, right? He said his group is prepared for escalation and remains in full coordination with regional allies on developments in Lebanon and Palestine. Yeah, they said their bloc, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, all their other militia units, Iran, they've all said, stop the genocide of the Palestinians. Large majorities across dozens of nations hold negative views of aardvark land. And so, should we, as America, bomb the hell out of all these countries? We may have to. And so, according to Pew Research, aardvark land net favorability. So these are the good guys. Ghana, they see them at plus 13. Nigeria plus 6. India plus 4. And Kenya plus 3. And so these are the good guys. All the rest bad. Even America, we may have to. Well, they're doing black helicopter drills in LA as we speak. So Brazil sees them negative 19, US negative 23. You could see Turkey really don't like them, as there's a bunch of rumors always floating around. There's going to be a direct conflict between aardvark land and Turkey. Pakistan doesn't like them very much either. Iran cannot be reached for this poll. But yeah, here's a long list of countries that are antiseptic and should potentially be attacked by America in the near future, that are with a negative favorability rating of aardvark land. Lebanese Prime Minister, puppet of America here now, says this is not Lebanon's war. You would think he would want to defend his sovereign territory there, but not so much. He's like, we'll kind of have to probably let it go. He said that the Lebanese government responded through humanitarian aid and diplomatic efforts, aid at securing ceasefire and protecting Lebanon's sovereignty, as they've been having talks back and forth, and they continue the massacres during ceasefire talks. And there was already a ceasefire, but they continue to massacre the Lebanese here now. He called on Iran to stop treating southern Lebanon as a bargaining chip in its negotiations, and stressed that that decisions of war and peace must rest with the Lebanese state alone. According to Aardvark Land public broadcaster Can, Aardvark Land's definition of a ceasefire in Lebanon stipulates retraining, occupying a buffer zone in southern Lebanon, and maintaining a, quote, freedom of military action. Like, you can have a ceasefire, but as soon as, So literally, words have no meaning here now, because they're free to do whatever they want during the ceasefire. Lay down and die. Leave or die. That's what the ethnic cleansing program tells them. Tells the Lebanese there. Leave or die. Lebanese Speaker of the Parliament slams unjust ceasefire terms. No Hezbollah retreat without parallel aardvark land withdrawal. So at least that guy, the Speaker of the Parliament, is saying, hey, can we get some kind of something? No. Not so much. Netanyahu holds off cabinet approval for ceasefire amid Hezbollah rejection. And so that's going to be the continuing wedge used by both sides and everybody in between here now to continue the massacre, ethnic cleansing, and land theft of Lebanon. Lebanon Civil Defense in the south reported that 5 people, including a paramedic, were killed and 1 was wounded in aardvark land airstrikes on the town of Zebdine earlier today. Aardvark Land launched a massive wave of aerial and artillery bombardments across southern Lebanon starting earlier this morning, hitting densely populated residential centers and key infrastructure routes. Attacks began at dawn with massive explosions rocking the southern city of Bitchute alongside a drone strike targeting Al-Burqa area. Aardvark Land warplanes and drones have focused heavily on, and they name a bunch of these different areas. The aggression has intensified into mid-morning with fighter jets continuing their bombing campaigns. And here's some a little bit of video and images of that. You can hear that off in the distance. There's some of the smoke from the bombing campaigns that are ongoing in southern Lebanon. Here's some of the damage on the ground that we can see up close, leveling the entire place there. Again, with concentrated waves of airstrikes, drone strikes, and artillery shelling. Some more images of these attacks in the distance there. The Cradle reports over the past 2 hours. This is earlier today, so you could say in the past 24 hours, shelling, airstrikes, target all these areas. It's ongoing. An Aardvark Land drone bombs a car directly behind journalist Abbas Fakai while he's filming a report about the dangers of the highway in southern Lebanon due to drone strikes. Imagine that. Here's it's not in English. But dude's like, yeah, they're bombing this road. It's pretty crazy, right? It's not safe. And then they bomb right behind him. It's like, dude, you can't make this stuff up. He's lucky. See, I think we can catch it at the beginning right here where they bomb right behind him. It's like, wait a minute.
هذا المحور الله أكبر هيا على الطريق نداء عاجل.
He's like, that road, they bomb a lot. It ain't safe. And then they bomb them right during his report, almost coordinated. So many of these reports, Aardvark Land strikes kill 8, wound 15 across Lebanon attacks in the last 24 hours. That was one. They go through here and list the names, some of the names of the victims, the dead Lebanese. There's women, children, civilian men, not part of Hezbollah, not part of any of this. Innocent civilian Lebanese. They name a bunch in that attack. Is there another one? It's like too much to count even at this point. We do have total death count numbers, though. They're still leveling Gaza as well. They're still leveling Gaza, what's left of it. Let's watch this report out of Al Jazeera.
When the Israeli forces targeted them last night, all we see is blankets, our pillows, and they're all burned. According to their neighbors, they said that the family of 5 was burned to death. Now, Hala, the only survivor, was sleeping a little bit far from the family here, and she was the only child that survived this attack. This is very obvious that this is a home. We can see furniture, we can see beds, and we can also see the leftovers or whatever is left of this family. We see a school bag.
They leveled the place. As per usual, both sides again losing, stacking up bodies on both sides. Aardvarkland Army Radio reports that the commander of the Givanti Brigade was lightly injured during a clash in southern Lebanon. This marks the 2nd Battalion commander in the brigade to be injured this week. The Islamic Health Authority in Lebanon told Al Arbi TV that 91 paramedics and rescue workers from its teams have been killed in Aardvarkland attacks, adding that more than 130 direct strikes targeted its field crews. More on this systemic targeting of Lebanese public health infrastructure. That's an ongoing campaign. And then death tolls in the last 24 hours, added them all up, according to Lebanese Ministry of Health. There's now 3,558 dead Lebanese and 10,087 injured Lebanese since March 2nd. Palestinian child. There's a picture of him on the stretcher. I don't even, with his eye missing. There was shot by a Aardvarkland quadricopter drone in the street in East Gaza City. A 7-month-old Palestinian baby was killed after Aardvarkland forces opened fire on his family car in Tel Rumbah near Hebron in the occupied West Bank. I guess we can show this one, but here's the dead 7-month-old wrapped up there in the blanket, as you could see. Not too gory there, as many of these images are extremely gory. As we continue to report, blowing off kids with half their head blown off, half their face blown off, arms, legs. Man, some of this stuff is just hard to stomach, man. I'm telling you. So Big Brother UK says Aardvarkland must respect Jordan's custodianship of the Al-Aqsa Mosque as they continue to try to provocateur these Muslims to make a move, bro. Make a move. Make a move. Make a move. The UK Foreign Office has stated that Aardvarkland must respect Jordan's custodianship of Jerusalem's holy sites, including Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, Islam's third holiest site. Middle East Eye reports that the U.S. and Aardvarkland are conspiring to strip Jordan of its historic custodianship of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which resulted from an agreement reached after Aardvarkland's 1967 occupation of East Jerusalem and the West Bank. In response to these reports, the UK Foreign Office said, "We value Jordan's important role as custodian of the holy sites in Jerusalem. The historic status quo agreements at Jerusalem's holy sites must be respected." According to U.S., Jordanian, and Palestinian officials and Western and Gulf Arab sources speaking with Middle East Eye, U.S. President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and U.S. Ambassador to Aardvarkland, Mike Huckabee, are leading the effort to replace the Jordanian-backed Islamic religious endowment with a new multi-faith center created by Aardvarkland. they want to build that Solomon's third temple there, that to fulfill their satanic prophecy to bring about end times, as we continue to report here now. And they're trying with all their might to provoke these Muslims into attacking now by desecrating their holy sites with provocateurs like Ben Gavir and others and his whole crew there, as we continue to report. Surprisingly enough, UK, Big Brother there, is saying don't do it. So at least they're publicly on the right side of this deal. We may have to go into Ireland and bomb the hell out of them. Ireland officially bans Aardvark land ministers Ben Gavir and Smotrick. And so at the very least, they need to be sanctioned for this transgression against these psychopathic genocidalists. And so they're now being banned from Ireland, Spain, Italy, France. So we got a big problem with Europe now because they're banning Ben Gavir and Smotrick. You see. And as is a custom, now the ultra-Zionists in the occupied West Bank are attacking water supplies. The main water supply to Al-Mushas community in the Khan al-Ahmar area in occupied East Jerusalem has now been attacked, i.e. poisoning the well, i.e. attacking the water supply here now. You can see right there. With their little hose for the little bit of water that they get, you get no water. France opens war crimes probe over treatment of Gaza-bound flotilla activists. And so now we may have to take action against France as well here now. France anti-terrorism prosecutors said earlier today that they had launched a preliminary investigation into alleged torture and war crimes linked to the treatment of French nationals by Aardvark land authorities after they took part in the activist flotilla headed for Gaza. And so these Europeans are getting uppity. They're getting uppity over there. Aardvark land expands use of AI-controlled drones to gather intel, strikes targets. Report here out of the cradle. Let's take a look at this. Maximizing the lethality of these killer drone systems. The Aardvark land military drone fleet has used AI-driven mass surveillance tools to become a highly effective target and intel generator during the genocide in Gaza and war on Lebanon. Peretz reported earlier today, citing internal military documents, dozens of unmanned Aardvark land surveillance and strike drones have been flying around the clock over both Lebanon and Gaza since October 2023, using AI to identify targets and direct fire for Aardvark land air and ground forces, to the documents show. Hermes 450 Zeke and Hermes 900 drones produced in Aardvark land's Elbit system were displayed at an unprecedented scale over Gaza after October 7, 2023, Operation Alaska Flood. The drones allowed Aardvark land to surveil nearly every corner of Gaza from the air, identifying and classifying targets for attack, including enemy drones. The documents, along with conversations with defense tech contractors, Aardvark land military officials, and testimony from soldiers, revealed the growing algorithmization of the Army's unmanned aerial systems, i.e. autonomized weaponized systems, i.e. Skynet. The central role played by drones in Aardvark Land's aggression against both Gaza and Lebanon has required the processing of massive amounts of data to support the autonomous decisions the unmanned aircraft make. AI-driven drones have also played a key role in Aardvark Land's command system during its war on Iran, launched on February 28th. Alongside America, Aardvark Land drones are equipped with their own computers that run software called Server in the Sky SITS. The system runs onboard analytic software that uses algorithms to perform a wide range of automated unmanned missions. The documents show how swarms of intelligence collected and strike drones have flown over Gaza, Lebanon, and Iran using computer vision to spot targets and classify, map, and share them with Aardvark Land fighting forces in real time. The Hermes drone carries a surveillance. The Hermes drones carry out surveillance using advanced cameras, synthetic aperture radar that sees at night and through clouds, and communications interception and electronic intelligence systems. The drones also carry out airstrikes, providing close air support for Aardvark Land ground troops. The Hermes 450 carry up to 4 air-to-ground missiles, while the Hermes 900 carry 8. Soldiers fighting in Gaza have described full coordination between the drone fleet and forces on the ground down to the battalion level. The Hermes drone can also be equipped with a surveillance system known as Widespread Area Persistent Surveillance, WAPS, which uses 10 advanced cameras to visually capture images of up to 80 square kilometers of territory, roughly a quarter of the entire Gaza Strip. The camera array allows live tracking of enemy forces in many areas simultaneously across a wide combat zone. WAPs also store a massive archive of all the visual coverage, allowing it to play back video in real time and in retrospect for different vantage points. Analysts say use it to trace an object such as a rocket back to the point of origin or reconstruct a chain of events. According to the documents, the WAP system proved itself a particularly effective target and integration generator in Gaza and Lebanon. Earlier investigations by Plus 972 magazine detailed Aardvark Land's Army's use of AI systems known as Lavender. That's from Palantir. They left that out here. And whereas Daddy to procedure, Aardvark Land's targeting bank for airstrikes to kill Palestinians, including suspected low-ranking Hamas members and their wives and children. The AI-driven technology turned tens of thousands of Palestinians into potential targets. We reported when that story broke here at Weaponized News from 972 Plus magazine there out of Aardvark Land. So it's back to, and again, they say they're using this as a laboratory. The Pentagon relied on Palantir's Maven smart system, which integrates Anthropic's Claude AI to analyze surveillance data, create target lists, and prioritize targets, you see. And so they openly admit now here, as we cover, going over linking up our two militaries with, Section 244 of the 2027 NDAA, that indeed Palestine is a laboratory for these experiments. They're going to bring all that tyranny back here for us here now, is why we should be extremely concerned about this, with Palantir software leading the charge at the Pentagon. Same system they're using to systematically genocide the Palestinians and the Lebanese right now in real time. It's all coming back here for you and I. And then what's the final report here for the day? Final report for the day. Aardvark Land training soldiers in tactics to manipulate public opinion at home and abroad. I know, shocking. They're trained how to be, they're trained government psychological officers here now. The Aardvark Land military is training soldiers and other defense officials to conduct psychological operations, i.e. propaganda, i.e. lies, designed to influence public consciousness in Aardvark Land and abroad. The hottest place in hell reported yesterday. That's a nice name. I like that. Hottest place in hell. What a name for what a name, but it fits, right? It fits. And that's actually 972 magazine. The hottest place in hell in Aardvark Land is what they're referring to, actually. And they're the Aardvark Land magazine investigation published its report based on an internal defense ministry tender published last July. And haven't we seen a whole lot of that has brought propaganda? And we keep playing the videos of all the big kabillionaire aardvarks at their meetings saying that they bought TikTok, right, for crying out loud, because they kept posting their war crimes on there. And so they say, then the ADL has said, Greenblatt, right? He said they're using AI to crawl the whole internet, all of your anti-Semitic hate, which in large part is created by them, as an excuse to play the victim and have an excuse to call everybody terrorists and kill everybody, essentially, here now. They're using AI tools already. He's bragged about many times to crawl the internet and create who they need to target to get rid of all this hate that, again, in large parts created by themselves. Amazing system. It's a racket. It's a racketeering operation they've created here now. It's a whole industry, right? It's called racketeering, and that's what they're doing. But more about this psychological operations. According to the ministry tender, instructors are required to hold advanced degrees in the fields of influence, consciousness, security and terrorism, mass communication, or digital and network communication. They are also required to have at least 4 years of professional experience in the fields of influence or influence intelligence in a security organization. Themes taught in these courses include fundamentals of psychological warfare, propaganda, deception, legitimacy and public diplomacy, and segmentation of large populations with emphasis on foreign audiences. The identities of the foreign partners receiving instruction in English are not specified in the tender obtained by the hottest place in hell report here. Let's see. And they do go through here and show you. Greenblatt's already talking about all of this. We have the videos and we played it. Let's take a look here at Iran International, and we'll wrap up this broadcast. Iran International latest headlines say Trump says a nuclear issue will be resolved one way or another. IRGC says it targeted U.S. bases after American strikes. We covered that. So there's a little bit back and forth. No big deal. It's just a little skirmish, they tell us. Nothing major kicking off as of right now. But it seems we're in a Persian standoff, and it's not. It could kick off hot and heavy at any time. U.S. strikes Iran radar sites. Kuwait comes under missile and drone attack. So there's ongoing attacks right now there in the Iran war on day 98 in the Persian Gulf, as we find ourselves in this Persian standoff. As Iran has said, tit for tat, they are going to attack U.S. assets in the region as we fight over the Strait of Hormuz and Iranian nuclear pixie dust. That's all we got today, friends. Russia-Ukraine, nowhere near resolution, apparently. Putin's challenging again today. He's challenging Zelensky to have an election and saying Ukraine can never have a nuclear weapon, a la Trump. So that's where we're at there. Nothing good, and nothing good here in Iran war day number 98. It's not good. None of it's good. Let's pray for peace. Let's pray for peace here. As I hear the natives are getting restless here. It's time for dinner. We go over to the Odysee channel, see how the chat is there. And I believe if it's not already going on, the boiler room, Ruckus and crew are going to be live, probably live now. I'm not sure, obviously, because I'm live here with you, but head on over to the boiler room after this show. Okay, shout out to Gur, Huffman, Highland, Pink, and Fat Bob over there on the chat on the Odysee. Thank you guys for tuning in and chatting it up. Well, they say, hope you're well, Gur. I'm living the Huxwellian dream, Gur said. That's a good one, Huxwellian dream. That's a good one, Gur. We're all living the Huxwellian dream, aren't we now? In 1984, Brave New World, Fahrenheit, I forget even the freaking temperature. All your dystopic novels on the Venn diagram, right? But Huxwellian dream is a good one. It's a very good one there, Gur. Says, have you heard Huxley's, Huffman says, have you heard Huxley's World Brain Lecture? It looks like AI is going to be the world brain. Yeah. That's what it looks like. What's Highland says, morning weirdos? Oh, man. What's Fat Bob say? Weaponized news can result in heavy drinking. Oh, Karen gives the public service announcement every now and again on the Rumble. So I guess we should add that to the show. This show may induce heavy drinking and bouts of depression when faced with the reality of the situation that we face. Seriously, though, it's really not that bad. As they say, go out and touch some grass, breathe in some of those chemtrails, and praise Trump. No, thank you, friends, for tuning in on the Odysee and chatting it up there. I do. The Huxwellian dream. That's a good one, Gur. Appreciate that. And all the other comments over there. Thank you guys for tuning in on Bitchute, Kick, Substack, Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. Let me go over to these other chats. I know everybody's probably rushing out of here to the boiler room. I'll just scroll up a little bit here. Shout out to Snow from ProPilled. Everybody should check out their work at ProPilled. He says, oh my God, you just can't call helicopters black, Sam. I know it's hateful, but they are black helicopters. Pardon my transgression there against the political correct. Max says Masons of the Almanac. Fat Bob on the Rumble. Florida is the oh, Fat Bob cracks me up, man. Denver says the Masons' beliefs sound like a real crock pot of slow cooked bullshit. Simmer so long, shit's falling off the bone. That's a good way to put it, Denver. That's a good way to put it. Bardo, good day to you, Bardo. Says, I have a friend who became a Mason. He was Catholic, but dogma beliefs about Jesus and Lucifer, the Trinity, have changed radically. Huh. So he became a Freemason. Well, hell, I guess so. Gavin on the YouTube, Aardvark Land in U.S. are C words till the end of time. Well, thank you very much for that. Let's see. Iran is in charge. Anne on the YouTube said, and more than 13 dead U.S. soldiers. Yeah. Tragically enough, it appears we're going to hear those reports. Who knows when? Probably when they revise down this next jobs report quietly, they'll say, yeah, there's a bunch of other, and they've already said, but they're trying to attribute it to other events, right? So there's a cover up going on there at the Pentagon, not wanting to admit the losses that we've taken in this Iran war. Max says Trump's America is cyberpunk Weimar. Mac's a poet. He puts together some words here. Some good stuff there, Mac. Shout out to Plutonium in Illinois. Illinois is what are they doing? They're acting Pritzker, another corrupt, like Pritzker, the governor there. I saw a report. They're acting like, yeah, they're against the surveillance centers too. They're going to do something. But it's all political. They're all for the same agenda. Everybody who watches this show understands that. And they play these political games for people that can't quite get a grip on reality. Military sociology. See, another one from Mac. It's laying it out there. What was it? We did I did an interview with a great researcher, Jan Irvin, way back over 10 years ago now, probably. I should dig it up and what do they call it? Refurbish it, recut it, whatever. He wrote a great article about weaponized anthropology. We should bring that. I should dig that up and repurpose it. Is what they say. Because that was a good one. Yeah, everything's all out weaponized news. Everything's weaponized against us. And with that, let's pray for peace. As always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Friday evening and weekend. Let's pray for peace, that it doesn't kick off hot and heavy here. Now, again, with Iran, pray they stop killing the Lebanese and the Palestinians. And again, there's a genocide going on there in Sudan, very underreported. Essentially a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and UAE and those on those sides and so on, and killing a bunch of Sudanese caught in the middle there. Battle for resources and land, as we've become accustomed to here now. That's going on. And this Russia-Ukraine thing, both sides are stacking bodies daily. It needs to stop. Let's pray for peace in all these conflicts as we go into this weekend. Boiler Room's on live now, or may very well be soon. I'm not exactly sure, but check out the Boiler Room with the Ruckus and crew there. And have a great rest of your weekend.